Hello, hello, and welcome back to another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks. This is a podcast all about pop culture and reality TV. I have my new studio set up. David and I have been working very hard on not only the purple lights, now we have sound panels, and I feel a little bit like a gamer. I feel like I'm getting ready to stream like Call of Duty or something, but nope, that's not what we're here to discuss. We're here to discuss what's going on in the Hollywood headlines. I had a weekend before we get into it. I am still recovering from my time at Machine Gun Kelly. I went to the Machine Gun Kelly concert this weekend. I really was there to see Kourtney Kardashian because, of course, Travis Barker was there. I didn't see her, but I know she was there. She's posting lots of pictures, and I breathed the same air, you know? Like, I was in the same vicinity as Kourtney Kardashian. So I'm just going to go with that, and we're just going to live our best life. But yeah, still recovering about 4 days later. I'm so old. It used to be like my pride and joy to go to concerts. I would be at Lollapalooza every year. I would be crowd surfing at Panic at the Disco concerts. And let me tell you, I was like, I need a chair. I was in the pit. I was like, I need a chair. I need to sit down. Machine Gun Kelly would be like, Kaitlyn, are you tired yet? And I'd be like, yes, honestly, I am. Can you blame me? You've been performing for 2.5 hours. You just smashed a wine glass on your face. I'm ready to go home. Not to say I didn't have an amazing time. It was great, but I'm just still a little tired. There is also one thing that I need to address before we get into this week's Pop 3, because we're shifting gears here. I need to hold myself accountable, okay? I don't want to say that I'm getting canceled because it's a step too far, but you know, some people are calling me out on something that I said, something that I did that is a little hypocritical. So I deserve it, I think. And I just thought that I would address it right here and say that I'm sorry, and hopefully we can move on with love and light. Because last week on the podcast, we were talking about Matt and Rachel and all these pregnancy rumors, who are still driving me absolutely bananas, posting 3 little baby lawn chairs on Rachel's Instagram story. But I was talking about the Nordstrom ad that they did in the parking garage. And I was like, well, Matt is rubbing all up on Rachel's belly. And I was like, well, David and I would never. We would never. And what do you know? Got my engagement photos back, posted one. Where's his hands? They're on my belly. 2 hands on the belly. I don't want to lie to you guys. And I did. And people were in the DMs and they were not happy. They were like, would you look at this? Is this a pregnancy announcement? And I'm like, okay, I get it. I've been humbled. I'm holding myself accountable. No chance that I am with child. Rachel and Matt, I still don't know. But at this point, I'm over it. I was over it last week when I told you that they're just doing stuff to be annoying. And now I think they're doing stuff to be annoying. I've seen her drinking what appears to be alcohol, but I don't know. I'm not putting any more thought and time into it unless you like DM me about it, because I will respond because I have to. Anyways, let's move on to today's Pop 3. We're checking in on a lot of couples in this week's Pop 3, from Beverly Hills to The Bachelor to Vanderpump Rules. So let's start with number 1, this week's headlines. Dorit and Mauricio are in a little bit of a, I don't even know what you would call it. It's not an S storm, because I don't know. Is it? There's romance rumors between Dorit and Mauricio. As you know, Dorit is married to PK. As you know, Mauricio is married to Kyle Richards. Now, fans of the show have been commenting on this for months, just because, especially in the recent season of Beverly Hills, the way that they're acting towards each other is just a little bit weird. Looking back to one of the first episodes this season, the robbery, right? So they all go to Kyle's house after the day after Dorit gets robbed. And PK comes home from London and they're group hugging. It's like PK, Dorit, and Mauricio. And Dorit kisses Mauricio's shoulder like, yes, I just kissed my microphone. So then last week's episode, and I know one came out last night, but last week's, PK played a game with Mauricio where they were like, which wife, would you want to be with if you weren't with yours? PK said Erica Jane. And Mauricio, do you know who he picked? Dorit. So in comes Dana Wilkie, 25,000. You remember? She was on Beverly Hills like ages ago talking about her sunglasses. That's 25,000. She was a former friend. She was on Instagram this weekend and she was like, she posted a photo of Dorit and Mauricio's faces over an Affair to Remember movie poster. And Dana was like, fans cannot stop talking about this. What do you think? Dorit, not pleased. She commented very long. Is something wrong with you, woman? Or are you just so miserable in your life you have nothing better to do? You're definitely one of the thirstiest people I have ever seen. I guess it's just as simple as that. Kyle and Mo are our friends, and my kids call them uncle and auntie. Do you think this is okay for my kids to see when it's a disgusting lie? If this is the only way you can make a buck, then so be it, but at least have some decency and stop trying to peddle false narratives, especially when there is zero truth behind it and your whole motive is just to hurt people for no reason. It's sad, pathetic, and bound to bite you in the ass, inevitably. Like 4 out of 10 on the Dorit impression, but it's hard, you guys, because she's got like 18 different accents. Okay. So then Dana went on her Instagram story and she was like, look, I'm not making this up. It's the fans that truly cannot stop talking about it. And she's like, obviously I struck a nerve, hit a nerve. As you remember that scene, what was it? The dinner party from hell where they're like, hit a nerve. And they just drag the smoke out. Okay. Anyways, here's my thoughts on this. Producers deserve an Emmy. Okay. There should be a new Emmy category for how production affects social media reactions to the show. You cannot tell me that they did not intentionally put the shoulder kiss in, because it was like, boom, right up in her face, shoulder kiss. And then to put like, oh yeah, Dorit, Mo would pick Dorit. Like they know what they're doing. 100%. Okay, moving on to our next couple that we're getting a little check-in on. Kaitlyn Bristowe and Jason Tartick are postponing their wedding. So Kaitlyn and Jason said that they were going to get married on New Year's Eve. Now they aren't getting married on New Year's Eve. And people are like, what's up with that? Like, what's going on? You guys have been engaged for a long time. You've been talking about planning your wedding for a long time. What's the 411? What's the sitch, Kaitlyn? So she did an interview with Us Weekly on the Here for the Right Reasons podcast and was like saying that they have such different tastes in pretty much everything. And if they both agree on a venue, it's booked until like late next year. And then she was like, I would be totally open to going to a courthouse and having a big party later. And Jason's like, no, I need a big wedding. So here's really where the confusion was. They technically aren't postponing their New Year's Eve wedding because according to Kaitlyn, there was actually never a wedding booked for New Year's Eve. She did an Instagram story a couple days later saying, and I'm not reading the Instagram caption because I just read a novel from Dorit and I'm going to read more Instagram captions later. So I just could not be bothered. But saying something along the lines of, we're not postponing our wedding because it actually was never booked. The venue told us that they had New Year's Eve as a date, and now they don't actually have it. So there was just a little bit of a miscommunication there. And now they can't find a venue that they both like for New Year's Eve. Essentially, they're back to square one. Don't really know what's going on. Look, don't knock them for having a long engagement. Look at JoJo and Jordan. They were engaged for like 27 years. and they made it out alive. Moving on to our third and final headline in this week's Pop 3, Tom Schwartz and Katie Maloney of Vanderpump Rules seen together via their Instagram stories after they were last seen together having an argument. We talked about that on the podcast, I believe it was 2 weeks ago. So if you are not up to date, go listen to it. It's as easy as that. Okay. Very interesting past 2 weeks for the former Bubbas of Vanderpump Rules. There was that viral video of Katie and Tom fighting, allegedly over Tom potentially flirting with another woman. As you know, they're in the middle of getting a divorce. Then last week, newly single Taylor Ann Green, who used to date Shep from Southern Charm, went on Watch What Happens Live and tells Andy to hook her up with Tom Schwartz at BravoCon. We were all like, ruh-roh. That was my reaction. Just someone give me a brown paper bag. Quick. Then that weekend, Tom and Katie both post a picture of themselves in a pool together. And y'all were freaking out. And the DMs were like, Morgan, what does this mean? What does it mean? They've said a lot that they are cool, which like, I don't have any experience with divorce, but I have broken up with dudes before and like, we ain't cool and we're never going to be cool. So I don't know. Tom Schwartz did an interview with Hollywood Life where they asked about a possible reconciliation with Katie, and he said, never say never. He said, as of now, we're on an indefinite hiatus. We still love and support each other. I'm a huge Maloney champion. I will support her in everything she does. She's killing it and hitting her stride. The podcast is crushing it. He said, me and Katie are still very close. Can you have a joint divorce party? Full transparency, it's been nice. Me and Katie still have a deep bond. We still love each other. Joint custody of the dogs. It feels really good to say that I have zero bitterness or anger. I still love her. Okay. And then another separate interview with Page Six, Schwartz said he's relearning how to be single. He called it strange. And then Sandoval kind of interrupted and was like, he doesn't have time to be single because we're focusing on Schwartz and Sandy's. It's like, we know. We know that you guys are coming out with another bar, Schwartz and Sandy's. So according to Page Six, Katie was present at the bar soft opening and the exes appeared to be friendly. Here's one thing that I just do not understand about the Vanderpump Rules clan. And I interviewed Stassi like before the pandemic, before her wedding, before she got fired, long time ago. And one of my questions to her was, why are you guys all friends with your exes when you all like hated each other? Because at that point in my life, I don't like having bad blood with people. And I'm talking about my exes a lot today, but I don't like having bad blood with people. So I'm like, it's been so much time. Like, I don't hold any bitterness towards anybody. Like, if we can be cool, we can be cool. We don't need to be cool because none of them live in the same place that I live in. Like, we don't see each other. So it doesn't really matter. But I'm like, how do you stay friends with like Jax Taylor? And she was like, honestly, I don't recommend it, to other people to be friends with your exes. Because of the circumstances, we have to be friends. And, after a certain amount of time, your drama gets swept up in different drama, So maybe that's what's going on with Katie and Tom, where they both still want to be on the show. So if there was drama, they're either A, using it to their advantage on the show. I don't know what the B option was going to be. So we'll just go with A. All right, now it's time for this week's deep dive. Every single week on my Instagram at Morgan P Talks, I open up the deep dive submissions to you. What is it that you want to know more about? You don't have all the answers to. It's stressing you. So this week, our deep dive comes to us from Jordan.
Hey, Morgan, it's Jordan from Cleveland, Ohio. I'd love to hear your thoughts on Nate from this season of The Bachelorette. He was one of my favorites on the show, but there is so much drama with his exes right now. Do you really think we might see him as the next Bachelor? Can't wait to hear what you think. You're the best. Love you like a sis.
Jordan's in Cleveland, baby. I love a Cleveland girl. I'm a Cleveland girl, and I love you like a sis. Jordan. Okay, the Nate controversy. If you haven't watched this week's episode of The Bachelorette, please do not listen to this because there will be some spoilers. Okay, so what happened? Nate is essentially being exposed by two of his former girlfriends. I'm using air quotes because that's what we don't really know. We don't really know if they were ever official. We don't really know what their relationship status was, but he's being exposed by two girls that Nate was allegedly dating at the same time. So Reality Steve did some investigative journalism here. And it all started with one TikTok by a girl named Kelsey Kelsey Flank. And it said, I cried for a guy who ... kept his kid a secret from me for 1.5 years while we were dating, and I found out on reality TV. Okay. At first, I felt like this didn't get a lot of traction. I saw the TikTok when it came out. I saw a couple Bachelor Nation pages sharing it, but I feel like it kind of started and ended there because especially in more recent seasons, we've seen this trend, where people want the clout of exposing someone on The Bachelor. It reminds me of, one, the girl who accused Clayton of cheating on Susie, which never happened. And two, that guy who did a TikTok about the former Bachelor, my girlfriend cheated on me with the former Bachelor, and that wasn't true. So anytime now that these things come up, you have to kind of look at it with a grain of salt. But Reality Steve got the shovel. He did some digging. And I guess Kelsey sent 38 photos on a Google Drive into Reality Steve, giving a very in-depth timeline of their relationship. Obviously, we don't know if they were actually together, but they had pictures together for 1.5 years. It looked like pictures on, pretty serious dates, on Valentine's Day. I guess they said I love you to each other, but we still don't ever know if they DTR to find the relationship. So then comes a woman named Larry, I believe is her name. And I guess they matched on a social media app. Pictures were taken with her too around Valentine's Day. So they're like comparing notes at this point. The two women, they're like, oh, I was with him on Valentine's Day. No, I was with him on Valentine's Day. Like, what? Show me your picture. I'll show you my picture. Kelsey also told Reality Steve, I wish Nate all the best. I don't want to affect his future, but it's important for me to try to prevent another girl from being blindsided by his secrecies. This might be an unpopular opinion here, but I don't buy that. Okay, let me read it again. No shade. If this really happened to Kelsey, I sympathize because that sucks. If you date a guy, even if it's casually or whatever you want to call it, for a year and a half, and then you find out on TV that he has a kid, that's got to feel really weird. But she said, I wish Nate all the best. I don't want to affect his future. I'm just letting it sink in for a second. But it's important for me to try and prevent another girl from being blindsided by his secrecies. Well, if she's talking about Gabby, he's not being blindsided by his secrecies because A, he already told her about his past with the daughter and his marriage. And B, if you're not trying to affect his future, why are you going to Reality Steve? I don't love it. Okay. Obviously, other people are like, you should not be going to Reality Steve of all people. He shouldn't be the one to break this kind of news. It's neither here nor there for me. Reality Steve is going to do what Reality Steve is going to do. And I feel like, he did his due diligence of really making sure that she had the receipts, that she had the screenshots, that she had the text. So how did Nate respond to this? He said on an Instagram comment, there are two sides to every story. And Nate right now can't really tell his side of the story because he's under contract with ABC. Even Kaitlyn Bristowe did an interview with Us Weekly, and she said there's three sides to every story. There's his side, her side, and the truth. And I always try and take all of these headlines and things with a grain of salt because I've seen headlines about myself that are like, oh, Kaitlyn was the phoniest bachelorette they ever had. She was dating a guy pre-show. She goes on to explain that situation. She said, I was dating a guy before I went on The Bachelor. And I was literally like, I have to make a decision because if this is actually my person, I'm not going to go on The Bachelor. But he wasn't. And I was like, I had to break up with you because you're not my person and I'm going to go on the show. which I think is fair. She also said, I think it's okay to date people before you go on the show. I think it's okay to date two people at the same time before you go on the show, as long as it's within reason. Like, are you telling both of them you love them and you're committed to them and they don't know about each other? That's a problem. If you're casually dating and it's none of their business, whether you're going on other dates to see what happens and you're just having fun before you go on a TV show, I don't see a problem with that. So I never want to immediately jump to conclusions, but I guess we'll see. I'm curious to hear Nate's side of the story. I think she's right, you guys. I think she's really right. And I just don't love this trend of judging, like being the judge, jury, and executioner of somebody's past based on somebody else's experience with this person, which is actually what Gabby said. We got some inside sources about what went down at the Men Tell All. Obviously, we know now that Nate was sent home this week. And Gabby, Nate got a hot seat at the Men Tell All, and they talked about this situation. And Gabby said something along the lines of, I'm only going to judge Nate, based on the way that he treated me. So where things really get interesting here is Mike Fleiss, who, is the head honcho, is really going in to defend him, to defend Nate, to address the allegations, which he's never done before. I have literal pages of screenshots from Mike Fleiss talking about Nate. It says, don't jump to conclusions about certain cast members based on mere allegations, as disturbing as they may be. I beg you to wait until all the facts come out before making any judgments. Don't worry, Bachelor Nation. Millsy and Martin Hilton are conducting a thorough investigation. No stone will be left unturned. That's kind of what are they investigating? Are they investigating if Nate lied to these girls? How do you investigate that? Anyways, sure hope this is good news for Bachelor Nation. According to Martin Hilton, the man in question is nothing like the guy these women have made him out to be. Another tweet. Since there is an innocent young child in this situation, we must conduct a full and complete investigation. Another tweet. Here at The Bachelor, we believe the casting decision should never be exploitive. Brain fart. There are more important things than ratings. So just a bizarre response from Mike Fleiss. Like I said, we've never seen him actually go ham like that. So what does that mean? A lot of people thought maybe Nate was getting the Bachelor edit. This time around, Mike Fleiss coming in to defend him could be setting him up to be the Bachelor. Here's why I think that there could be some legitimate legs to this, to Nate potentially being in the running to be the next Bachelor. And it all comes back to our dear friend, Michael A., our lovely favorite of all time, bestie for the restie, Michael A. My sources can confirm Michael A. was wanted for The Bachelor after he self-eliminated from Katie's season. I'm going to leave it there. I also have heard that Mike Fleiss's time with the franchise may be coming to an end soon. I don't know if that means this season. I don't know if that means next season, but is Mike Fleiss going to stick around for the next 10 years? No. So I believe that it's important to Mike Fleiss to end on a good season. When you think back to how beloved Michael A. was in the Bachelor franchise, people wanted single father. Michael A. has gone through such a heart-wrenching tragedy. They wanted him to find love so bad. People really were rooting for Michael A. And that, obviously, from Mike Fleiss's standpoint, will draw viewers. Was Fleiss trying to recreate those circumstances with Nate, with single father Nate, which although obviously their situations are different as to how they ended up where they are. But because Michael didn't work out as the Bachelor last year, was this casting, was this Golden Boy edit all an attempt to get people to fall in love with Nate so that he could be the next Bachelor? Not to mention Nate, already friends with people in Bachelor Nation, specifically Dustin. I know he's friends with some other people, but he has gotten the Golden Boy edit, truly one of the most positive edits of the season. You know, spoiler alert. They went on Bachelor in Paradise. When you get an edit that good, with the heartbreaking goodbye, with him, being in all the ITMs for the commentary, and you don't go to Paradise, why? I think I know why. Because he's probably going to be the Bachelor. We'll see how this one plays out. Obviously, this threw a pretty big wrench in the system. I think Nate could still potentially be the Bachelor. I want a twofer with Greg and Andrew. I think it would be hilarious, but time will tell. All right, you guys, to wrap up this week's episode of MPT, I am going to introduce you to our next guest. Julien Simani is an actor and the co-host of the X Appeal podcast. Fun fact about Julien. He was on set with Kim Kardashian for that Beyond Meat commercial, the conspiracy theory that we are going to try to crack. Did she eat the food during the commercial shoot, or was she a fake and a phony? Please welcome Julien. Julien, thank you for joining MPT this week. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
We are here to crack a little bit of a conspiracy theory, maybe the only way that I know that I can crack this one. And it's all about Kim Kardashian eating those Beyond Meat chicken nuggets. Julien, you were in the commercial. Yes. With Kim. Now, before we do crack the conspiracy theory, you were the chef that actually handed her the food. Tell us what it was like on set that day.
So if I remember, like, you did an actual episode about this, is that it? Is that correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. And what were your thoughts on it?
Well,
I know.
The internet was just ablaze with, Kim Kardashian hate. And I don't want to say that I perpetuated that, because I don't care. Eat the burger, don't eat the burger. Like, she's filming a commercial. It's not a big deal. But people, as they generally do with anything revolving the Kardashians, were all up in arms saying, she didn't even eat the chicken. She didn't even eat the burger. And when you go back, it does look a little bit suspicious. Like, the bun is still on the burger. It's cut very perfectly. So I just kind of want to know what it was like that day.
Yeah. There's a theory that is apparently that it was all a marketing scam from Beyond. There's also a theory where people think they did that on purpose so that people will talk about it even more, giving more buzz to it.
What do you think? Do you think that's true?
It's not true. That's not it. How it was like on set? Well, it was honestly like, very professional, very quick. The whole shoot took about like 3 hours. I didn't get to have like an intimate talk, obviously, with Kim, because she is very, very busy, as you can expect. She has a whole team around her. So the way it went is, we would get ready. Once everything was ready to shoot, we would get on set. We would be recording. And as soon as the director had his shot, she would go back to her chair and, be on her phone. And her entire team is on the phone at the same time. I felt like I was in a movie, on the phone and showing this is happening. So she's handling this. And then whenever the director is ready for the next take, she'd be, hey, we're ready for you. She's like, okay, drop the phone, go do her thing. Whenever we have it, go back to the phone and, keep handling business.
That seems like it would be exhausting, right?
Yeah, I don't know. Props to them, to be honest. I'm not a Kardashian fan or hater. I don't really watch the Kardashian. I don't care. But the one thing that like stuck out of me is like, man, like these people are working constantly working.
I mean, they got to build an empire one way or another.
Yeah.
And it seems like they don't sleep. Now, did you know that you were going to be on set, with Kim that day?
Yeah.
And you weren't nervous at all? I mean, I know you said that you don't really care one way or another, but I would be just dying inside.
No, I was not at all. To me, it's another job. You know,
Have you worked with any like other big celebrities, like big name, like Kim Kardashian? Is she the most famous?
She probably is the most famous. I've worked with people that intimidate me more than her because of the career that I'm in, right? So I do commercials on the side, but my main thing is acting. And, you know, my first real big encounter was J.K. Simmons, and where I had a scene with him. And to me, that's more intimidating because, you know, he's an Oscar award winner.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I get to share the screen and have a scene with this legend. So, but as soon as the camera says action, to be honest, it all goes out the window. You know, I'm working right now on a Hulu show with Catherine Hahn. Yeah, no, like not even. Yeah, I'm not stressed. I did another show last month for Apple that I can't really talk about because they're very secretive. But big names on it, and just not. You know, it's just like it's work.
That's
It's very weird.
amazing.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously, this is your career path. Like, what led you into this arena working with such huge people?
I mean, you know, once I decided to start acting, I just got to work. I started, you know, taking all my classes, all that stuff. And then once I got agents, I got auditions, and then it's just about booking the right jobs. And then I've booked jobs here and there, and it just keeps getting better over time. Because you start to make a little name for yourself, and then you work with one celebrity, and then people are more comfortable to bring you on set next to another celebrity to shoot because you've already been there.
Right. And you're professional and they know your reputation.
Yeah.
So you're going into this commercial.
Mhm.
I want to know, like, the process of getting the job. Do they tell you, like, this is a campaign with Kim Kardashian, we need this person, this person, this person? Or do you just kind of go in and then they tell you what's going on?
So for jobs like this, because Kim Kardashian is such a big name around the world, and there are a lot of fan people out there, right? Even actors that would probably freeze next to her.
Right.
And I know, like, you know, people around me that don't really mention Kim Kardashian, when they knew I was going to be on set with her, they all went crazy. And this job was referral. So there was no auditions. It was referral from people that we knew. And it's a good friend of mine who works for Beyond Meat who knew this was going to go down. And he's fairly high up at Beyond. And he knew I could not care less.
They probably like that, though.
Yeah,
in that
he
situation.
Knew. He was just like, he's doing that. He's been doing this. He, you know, like I don't know, like, basketball players. I don't know football players. I like, the only person I might get a little like starstruck is Chris Hemsworth, and he knows that. That's the only one. That's like my fanboy, right? And
that's a good one.
Yeah. And he was like, yeah, we can bring Julien. He's not gonna freak out. We need a chef. He's French. That's just a great match. And yeah, and so, you know, I think they told me, like, on a Thursday, hey, next week we're doing this. You want to be part of it? And I was like, yeah, absolutely. You know, obviously, what's the pay? And then once we agreed, I was like, all right, I'll be there.
I mean, you did do a great job. You do look like you could be a chef.
I call it silent acting at its finest.
Yeah.
You know.
Okay, so truly the moment we've all been waiting for, trying to crack the case for months now. Did Kim Kardashian eat the Beyond Meat burger while you were filming the commercial?
I hope I don't get in trouble for this. Okay, let me ask you this. What do you think?
No.
She didn't?
No, I don't.
You think she didn't eat any of the products?
I think while they were filming the commercial, she did not eat any of the product because, I mean, logistically, you can't have her filming this commercial with food in her mouth, with her chewing, and she's having to recite lines. I think they probably would have done like a taste test maybe before the commercial, just so that she kind of had an idea of what was going to happen. But while they were filming the commercial, I think no.
You're wrong. She ate everything.
Really?
I promise on my mother's life, she ate everything. She tried everything. And then, you know, I know that she posted like 2-3 weeks later stories of her actually eating the food.
Right.
And she was doing that in between takes. Now, she didn't finish everything, but she had...
Which is understandable.
Yeah, because there was a lot of products to shoot.
Yeah.
But she had a bite or two, even three of every single product. And I actually was quite impressed because sometimes big celebrities can be very tricky to work with. They don't want to do something that the director asked, and everything the director asked for. She was like, hey, do you mind? We need one more take, one more bite. And she was like, absolutely. She had honestly no problem whatsoever. She was super, super professional on the set.
Yeah, I feel like that's something that we kind of hear a lot, whether it be on the Kardashians show or, interviews with this. She is very professional. She will do whatever she needs to do to get the job done,
Yes.
which is probably why she's working 24/7,
Yeah.
which is what you witnessed on set that day.
Yeah, but she tried everything. So I think, because I know that, they had shots of her eating the burger, and then they had a second burger ready for the actual product shot.
Got it.
That they used. And then she picked up the new burger that was cut, and she would, do a pose with it. I don't know how the producing team, it's an independent, it has nothing to do with Beyond, how they didn't catch that. I have no idea. I think
because it does look like she doesn't. I mean, do you watch it back and look, and you're I can see.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But she did. And I think that it's one of those scenarios where this production team, this shoot was so stressful probably for them, because, they're dealing with a very, big celebrity, and everything needs to be perfect camera wise and look wise, that they might have just not even realized it. Sometimes you're so into a thing like editing and so into a project, you don't see the main thing that's missing in front of you because you've been in it for 3 weeks, a month. I think that's what happened. But when I saw it, to be honest, again, because I was on it, I didn't really, when I saw the actual final, I didn't even realize that she wasn't eating it. And then when I saw the product, all the comments and everything, I was like, oh, that's so weird. She ate everything.
I mean, I know that you said it wasn't intentional, that they did that to cause the conspiracy. But I mean, at the end of the day, it got even more people talking about the commercial. So do you think that they're actually mad about that?
No, I think it was an honest mistake, but that everybody's somehow benefiting from it.
Right.
I think it was because it's publicity at the end of the day, and it granted them, because she had to rectify it. She ended up posting about it again.
Right.
Which I'm not sure. Again, I'm not in the contracts, but I'm not sure what was contracted there. But I think it worked out for Beyond well, but it's also I don't know. Do you want your product to be talked about because they didn't take a bite? I don't know. That's not my my area of expertise.
Yeah, and I just want to say this podcast not sponsored by Beyond Me, but hey, if they want to send some stuff over, I will gladly eat it on camera whenever, wherever. Julien, you also have a podcast, yeah?
Yes, yeah, I do have a podcast, which is actually produced by Hurrdat, and it's called X Appeal.
What do you talk about?
So it's an interesting concept. It's basically an ex of mine and I debating relationships and talking about everything, everyday life, relationships, dating, because we realize that a lot of podcasts are a little biased, right? It's always two guys talking about dating and shitting on girls,
right?
Or two girls talking about dating and saying guys are just the worst,
right?
So we thought there was a niche there where she can bring her women point of view on this subject, but I can also stand up for guys and say, well, no, that's not how we see things. That's not what's happening, right? So our first episode was, how long should you wait before you get intimate with your partner? And it seems like Jen, my co-host, was saying, well, maybe a week, 2 weeks, 3-4 dates, something when you feel, and just so that the guy is really interested. And I was debunking all of that, saying it does not matter. If a guy is actually interested in you, actually genuinely interested in you, whether you sleep with him the first night or after a month, he'll still be interested.
Right.
Obviously, you got to be comfortable about doing it. But if a guy is just interested in sleeping with you, the outcome will be the same if you make him wait or not. So it's just it's got to go by feelings,
I take it you guys didn't have that bad of a breakup if you're now a podcast host together. That's really something.
Yeah, I know. We dated, and it came to a point where it's we knew that her and I were not going to be compatible long term, but we actually definitely enjoyed each other's person. And it's slowly, like, she started slowly to talk to me about the guy she was dating. And we had this one moment where she was dating this guy, and she was like, oh, I don't know. Like, he hasn't hit me yet. I don't know. Like, hit me up about hanging out. I was like, I don't know if I should, it's weird. And I said, just text him. And he's like, well, no, he's going to think I'm clingy. I was like, no, just text him and see. She did. It worked out. They actually went on a date. He loved it. And then as a joke, we're like, man, we should have a podcast. And then 2 months later, like, let's do it.
That's amazing. If I ever had a podcast with my ex, I would not. I mean, all my exes and I, we do not speak. It was not good terms.
Really? So, why?
I was young. In all of my relationships, I was just, not the most mature, not the best version of myself. But I also was never a huge relationship girl. I had 3 serious relationships my whole entire life. I'm almost 30. So I would go very long spans of time being single because honestly, it took a lot to win me over. And so the last serious relationship, I'm engaged now, which is great. Thank you. Yeah. But my last serious relationship, I was still in college. I was 21. We didn't really trust each other. It was in that, scene of just the college scene. So I was just not a mature person. I don't think my exes were mature at that stage in life either. So we will not have a podcast with them. Maybe with my British South African fiance, because he has a great podcasting voice. He's got the accent and everything. Ooh, but I'll leave the relationship stuff up to you and your co-host, Jen. Can you tell my listeners where they can find you guys online, on social media, and your podcast one more time?
Yeah, absolutely. So our podcast, it's called X Appeal. You can find us on Apple and Spotify. We are also on Instagram. We are taking a little break from Instagram to try to figure out a little bit of a better way to communicate. But we are still on Instagram, and you can reach out to us there. Also, if we'll do a question of the audience. So sometimes an audience member will send us like a question that they want us to debate. So that's a good way to reach out to us. And we're on YouTube as well.
Julien, thank you for helping me crack the conspiracy with Kim and her Beyond Meat burger.
It's all real. It was all real, guys.
Thanks, Julien.
Of course.
Thank you guys again for joining another episode of Morgan's Pop Talks. It truly is my highlight of the week. I feel like I still am streaming like PewDiePie on YouTube with my new gamer setup, but we're living, we're laughing, we're loving, we're gathering in my new studio. And I'm just grateful. I'm grateful that I have a studio where I can talk to you people. I'm grateful that I have these cute little purple lights to kind of hit it home that you're listening to MPT, even though you can't see the purple lights. So I guess I'm just going to shut up now. Hey, leave a review, would ya? It really makes my day. I absolutely love it. A little 5-star boop, boop. We're trying to take over the world here, and we can't do it without ratings. If you want to leave a nice positive review too, even a little love you like a sis, a lilas, I will just love you forever. All right, I'm going to go now. Thank you again. We'll see you back next week. Love you like a sis.
A Hurrdat Media Production.